Hello and welcome to the very first Topic Tuesday of 2025. If you're new around here, the concept is quite simple. People send me comments about Taekwondo. They ask questions and I print them out and we talk about them. If you would like to participate, it's very easy. Just get down in the comments section, leave a comment, and we'll address it next time. Last Topic Tuesday, I asked you guys for stories about using your training in a self-defense situation. And so I'm going to read a few responses I got from you guys. The first one comes from Terminal Monk. I'm going to try not to stutter too much. Remember, my eyes jump around. I have that visual perception problem. So if I stutter, blame it on that. Okay, Terminal Monk says, when I first started training in Hapkido, my school offers both Taekwondo and Hapkido, I asked my instructor about anecdotes of students using techniques in self-defense situations. This is a light paraphrasing of his response. I've been teaching martial arts for 3 decades, and I can count on one hand the number of times a student has told me they used a technique in a self-defense situation, and every single one of them was in law enforcement. However, I can't even begin to count the number of times someone has told me they avoided injury by using break falls. My takeaway was that no matter how focused we all become on the idea of applying techniques in self-defense, the reality is that it isn't the greatest benefit we get from training, so it's best not to be too engrossed in it. Very cool answer, Terminal Monk. Thank you so much. And that reminds me of one of the various YouTube channels. I can't remember if it was Sensei Seth or someone else, but they were ranking martial arts in different tiers for self-defense. And one of the attributes they gave to Aikido for being better than what someone might perceive for self-defense is the fact that you get really good at falling down. And you are pretty well guaranteed to fall down a number of times in your life. So being good at that is a handy skill to have in your back pocket. From my producer, Daryl. Well, I have only 2, being on the humor side, being a safe outcome, and really an accident. An elbow front strike to the jawline worked while playing a friendly game of football on the Michigan football field. Are you from Michigan, Daryl? We laughed it off, and I'm not sure how it burst out other than his direct run and me and maybe my nerves. But to say the least, it works, and the above-average size friend never expected that from a guy my size, and he went down fast. So yeah, patterns, Pumse, not a waste of time. I, of course, did not mean it, and the elbow hasn't been out since. Ha ha. Yeah, that's funny. Have any of you responded in a sort of startled way with a technique to someone, kind of by mistake? I can tell you a story about that in a second. Daryl continues. Secondly was a minor high school scuffle at a house party, and the fellow was poking the bear for quite some time, and he wanted to go outside. So I replied, we don't need to go outside, thinking more could arise, and did a one-shot jumping roundhouse, and he became one with the main entrance closet door. He was all right, stunned, but on his butt, all right. A hockey player, so I'm sure he wasn't used to it. Oh, so I'm sure he was used to it. I thought that didn't make sense, yeah. A hockey player, so I'm sure he was used to it. Obviously, now we know the implications of risk to use a technique of sort without being in above harmful danger. But I never had trouble again after that, as word got around. Lucky shot, I guess. That's a funny story. Yes, we should not be too engrossed by it by any means. Taekwondo dojangs do promote and develop professional life skills and improvement, although the younger generation could face more than we had to. A boost of self-confidence, even knowing the techniques can perhaps make a bully notice this and turn direction their thoughts. One bonus of martial arts. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the training just seeps into your posture, the way you carry yourself, and even if you're just doing a lot of pumse and rehearsed self-defense routines, it can really change the way you carry yourself. And I think that is something that people perceive when they choose whether or not to make you a victim of their bullying. Yeah, I had, let me think, the instance I remember where a technique kind of just popped up because I was startled was I was going through a hallway in a restaurant, and there's a corner, and I think I had gotten behind my group going to the restroom, so they had left before me, and I was on my way out, and my now wife just jumped at me from the corner, and my hand went up with a knife hand position going forward, like a showman strike in Aikido, right toward her face, which would be a really good suppression to someone if they were moving in toward you. But I didn't hit her, so I was happy about that. And everybody in the group laughed. They thought it was hilarious that I responded that way. So anyway, that was my little anecdote. All right, let's move on to Lyndon King, 2476. Right. Thank you for your answer, sir. I too fall under the warrior monk archetype. I also gravitate toward the Eastern Asian martial arts. Occasionally, I branch out and look for inspiration from boxing or Muay Thai or something else, but I always return to Taekwondo with a few more tools. It is partly the aesthetic, but it is also the philosophy of the art. There's also this feeling of alignment that I get when I train at the dojang or even at home. I won't be the best fighter out there, and that's okay. Taekwondo is a means of enjoying life, and that's enough for me. Yeah, I think well said there. You know, it's interesting you talk about this concept of alignment. Forgive me for getting mystical for a moment, and maybe you could say I'm pontificating a bit here, and I risk being completely wrong about what I say, and perhaps even blasphemous. So I hesitate to speak on this, but I am curious what you guys think of it. I, of course, oh my gosh, I'm gonna leave this. You're gonna hear me. It's cold here. I live in Michigan, and it's cold here right now. I'm sorry, I'm off screen. I'm wiping my nose because it's dripping because it's cold. If it gets below like 65, my nose starts running. Anyway, sorry. I, of course, believe in a God. As many of you know, I'm a Christian. And I think this isn't too controversial to say. I think there's a purpose that we're all given from God, a talent stack that God gives us. And some of that we suss out just by following our passions, as long as they're not contradicting with His laws, of course. And then we follow our passions and we build this talent stack, and that kind of informs us as to what our mission from God is, if you will. Now, if you don't believe in God at all, I still think this is a valuable lens because it can really help give you direction in life. And I hope that this is in line with the true teachings. But anyway, you know, Lyndon King here says that he feels aligned with Taekwondo. Isn't that interesting, that choice of words? It's almost as though you were designed to gravitate toward that thing over the other things, and it can't be helped. You can't control what you align with, and that's how I feel too. And it's interesting, I'm curious what you guys have been experiencing, because the past 6 months at least now, it's been a lot harder business-wise. I've had a heck of a time getting more people in the door, and they're much more hesitant to sign on to classes. And I had an approach that was just working great for 6 years, and felt like that approach started failing. Maybe it's a fluke, I don't know. I've been trying to tweak the approach. I worked with some consultants from a company called 7 Figure Dojo. I like some of what they taught me, but a lot of it didn't really fit with what I feel is right for a business or my personality. I'm not trying to knock them. It's just, you know, we have to choose practices that we believe in. So I've reached out to some people who have been gracious enough to help me. We'll see if things improve or not. But my point in bringing that up is that I think, well, let me put it this way. If my students were always comfortable in their training, they wouldn't get any better. As a teacher, you're supposed to stress your students. You're supposed to give them healthy amounts of friction to help them grow. And from my perspective, when things aren't quite working, when your old methods stop functioning, or when you're experiencing stress of some kind, it's like you're being shaken up for a reason. And I'm trying to figure out what that is and see how I can improve so that I get what I'm supposed to out of this scenario. Now you see, even if you don't believe in God, approaching things in this way, it keeps you positive about the situation, and it helps you to look for ways to improve and make the best of the situation. So anyway, any of you guys, school owners, any of you notice difficulties with enrollment lately? According to X, formerly Twitter, according to their AI, which is called Grok, some 60% of people in the United States are reporting being more fatigued than normal, and I wonder if that has something to do with it or not. If it does, we can capitalize on it. I put some images up the other day that were generated by an AI showing a martial artist sort of beaming with energy, and I was thinking I could share some images like that and remind people that training actually helps give you more energy, even though it can make you seem lethargic and less likely to get interested in something. Maybe we can capitalize on that feeling of being lethargic and help people regain their energy, which I think is one of the many positive benefits you get from martial arts practice. Let's move on to our next topic from Tushar Bealla. Sometimes I wonder how you're really supposed to say that. Anyway, this person writes, "Hello, sir. My lungs are severely deconditioned, having collapsed on multiple occasions." I'm sorry, that sounds really rough. I am 25 and have to get back on track. That's such a young age to have some problems like that. I really feel for you. I am joining Taekwondo soon. Can you suggest some tips, please? Yeah, absolutely. Most instructors, I think, will fall in line with what I'm about to say, and if they don't, try a different school, because I'm sure you'll find someone who's happy to work with you. Take the training at your pace. Your body's really good at sending you signals. If the class is too hard, just ease off a little bit. I would certainly understand. I had a student who had some medical trouble, and I'm saddened because this student discontinued and never told me that the classes were too difficult until after discontinuing. And I would have been happy to modify it, and I, of course, started by telling them over and over, adjust things as needed. And this particular condition would have been made better by continued training. So it's kind of heartbreaking to me. The hard part about this is you're going to have to deal with your ego getting in the way, because there might be things that the whole class is asked to do. Maybe someone who's 60 years old is doing it in front of you, and maybe you're not quite ready to do that yet. You're going to have to listen to your body so that you can stay healthy, so that you can build yourself up slowly, and not let that sort of competitive sense get to you and keep you from doing the training. Remember, if you give it too much and then you can't do it again the next day, and then you feel discouraged about ever going back, that's not a winning formula. The winning formula is to incrementally increase the difficulty of the activity so that your body can handle it in its injured state. And of course, that will promote the healing process. So that would be the biggest thing, is to talk with your instructor, ease off when necessary, and don't let that get to you, because a lot of people, let me tell you, would not do any training of any kind if they were in your shoes. They would just give up altogether. Getting in there and doing something is a much better solution for you than not acting. So I admire what you're doing, and I think all of those around you will admire what you're doing, but you're probably, if you're like me and many other people I know, you're probably going to have that voice in your head that is constantly feeling bad for not giving as much as the other students in your perception. Remember, you are. And I get it. It's hard because you're in a young body, and people have certain expectations of a young body. People still give me, they have no idea how bad my hip is. They have no idea. And they treat it like it's no big deal, especially if they're older. They're like they don't even listen to what I'm saying. And it's really bad sometimes, you know, when it comes to kicking. So, you know, that's hard on me. And I know you're going to have some similar feelings likely. So just don't let that get to you as much as you can. We can motivate each other. How's that? Oh, good for you, though. From Daryl again. It's been a few weeks since we had one of these, so thank you for 2 topics, Daryl. Happy New Year. I'm curious to hear about the progress on virtual TKD. It's a bit pricey just for the stocking, although have you tried it? Has it been a hit in the Taekwondo community? A hint for the new episode on the 7th. Enjoy the holidays. I haven't tried it. I haven't seen it set up anywhere around me. Have any of you guys tried it? Imagine it could be fun if you like that sort of thing. We talked about it a little bit in the past. I think it can give you the cardiovascular workout and be sort of like shadow boxing. I think it's going to be hard to build the real reflexes you need to be better at sparring in terms of learning good defense and learning to move in ways that create openings and give you access to the targets. But, hey, great way to stay cardiovascularly in shape. Is cardiovascularly a word? Great way to stay adapted to the cardiovascular demands of sparring, let's put it that way. And maybe just a lot of fun. I don't know. I'm in Michigan. We have a pretty solid sport Taekwondo community in Michigan, and I haven't seen it pop up anywhere. So no experience, no way that I can give you too much on that one. So you guys in the comments are welcome to share your experiences, and I'll read it next time. And to wrap up, I thought I'd share a small world story with you guys. I went down to visit my mom, who moved to Florida a couple years ago now, well, a year and a half ago, and met with her new Taekwondo school owners over lunch, and they were talking to me about this thing called Taekwondo Lab, and I've never heard of that. And they're talking and started talking about how a really good approach to sparring is this thing called the constraints-led approach. And I got all excited. I said, oh, you know about the constraints-led approach? They said, yeah. It turns out that the guy who runs this program is named Master Husky, if I'm not mistaken. And he works a lot with many of you who know Josh Peacock, who often comments on this channel, who I did an interview with. Who is an expert in this concept called the constraints-led approach. And that I guess he's on the advisory board, if I'm not mistaken, for Taekwondo Labs. So that's funny, small world thing. Anyway, that was cool to hear about. And it's kind of funny, too, because I've been thinking about, I do all these live exercises with my Aikido students, where I put these sorts of constraints on them, and then we do the live exercises. And I've thought about just recording it and putting commentary on top of it and calling it Aikido Lab. But I don't think I can do that now that I know there's this thing called Taekwondo Lab. Anyway, welcome back, everyone. You know the drill. If you want Topic Tuesday to stay alive and well, get down in those comments and type away, and I will see and hear from you next time. Until then, enjoy your training.